Speaking of the discussion, let's get into that right now. And what Crystal was saying, there was a little bit of a contradiction. And because of the
contradiction, what do you mean?
Yeah, so basically, and since this is April, we're calling this the month of fools. So we actually have a little, I'm going to play a little clip here.
Caller, the Bible does not have contradictions.
I didn't say it did.
Ah, well, very good, caller. Don't you forget it.
That's from our friends over at Coast to Coast.
Epic, too funny. Huge fan. Their channel is awesome.
Yes, it is. We're going to be talking about contradictions in the Bible. So, like I said, this is the month of fools, and this is it's contradictions month. And this first contradiction we're going to be talking about is who killed Saul. Now, if you've ever heard about Saul, he is apparently in the Bible, he was anointed by the prophet Samuel and reigned over Gibeah. He apparently supposedly fell on his sword to avoid capture in the battle against the Philistines at Mount Gilboa, according to his 3 sons who were also killed, or during which his three sons were also killed, rather. In succession to the throne, he was contested by Ishbosheth, his only surviving son, and his son-in-law, David, who eventually prevailed. The main account of Saul's life is usually found in the book of Samuel. But what does that got to do with a contradiction? Well, apparently a lot, because, as I just said, that in the book of Samuel it says he fell on his sword. That would be 1 Samuel 31, 4 through 6. But, it says here, therefore Saul took a sword, fell upon it, so Saul died. That's 1 Samuel's. The problem here is, like I said, there are several contradictions in the Bible. In 2 Samuel 1, 8 through 10, it says Saul was killed by an Amalekite. He didn't run himself through with a sword. He was killed by an Amalekite. I don't know what the fucking Amalekite is. Maybe it's a guy with a bad rash. I don't know. And then in 2 Samuel, same book, 2 Samuel 21:12, the Philistines had killed Saul. So there's a whole other place. Now, was it the Amalekites or was it the Philistines? But wait, there's more, and it's absolutely free. And in 1 Chronicles 10:14, it says God killed Saul. Well, either way, he's died 4 different ways. I mean, this has got to be the monster movie of the week. How do you kill a guy 4 different ways from Sunday? All right, we're going to start the timer. We're going to have a little discussion on this. All right, and we're going to start the time now. Go ahead, Joe. Or Crystal, whoever wants to start.
I'm going to lead off on this. According to the Bible, Saul is the first king of Israel, and he was eventually, as you mentioned, succeeded by David. So I did some digging to see if there was any known archaeological evidence that Saul existed. And what I found was, not only is there no evidence that Saul existed, but no evidence of David either. So like many stories in the Bible, this one is probably legend or myth. As for how he died, big surprise, the Bible has conflicting accounts. In order to prevent capture from a military defeat against the Philistines, Saul ordered his armor bearer to kill him. And this is mentioned in 1 Samuel 31:4. And the armor bearer refused, so Saul did it himself. Right. He put his sword down and he like pushed himself onto it and killed himself. However, in 2 Samuel 1, 5 through 10, the armor bearer obliged. He was like, "Oh, okay, boss, I'll do it." In 2 Samuel 21:12, great Rush album. Anyway, in Samuel 21:12, the Philistines killed him. The invading army, the army they were just defeated by, they were about to get captured. Hitler, surrounded by the Russians, he didn't kill himself. The Philistines came in and killed him.
Yeah.
So, and lastly, as you mentioned, in 1 Chronicles 10, 13 through 14, God killed Saul. So, now I read on an apologist website that it's a mistake to count this as a contradiction, because they asserted that the armor bearer lied about the events.
Oh, that's right. Let's put off the let's blame the armor bearer. Yeah.
Right. The armor bearer. I mean, there's two conflicting accounts here, and the armor bearer either did it or didn't do it. He lied. He completely lied. He made up that shit. Right.
Yeah.
The Bible goes on in 1 Samuel 3:6 that Saul, his 3 sons, his armor bearer, and all his men died together that same day.
He lied from the grave. They got out their Ouija board and they say, "How did he die?"
Right.
Whoever's going to tell us.
According to the story, they all died. So who is lying? Better yet, who is telling the frickin' story?
Yes, who's telling the fucking story here?
It's all made up. It's all completely made up. It's like asking, who killed Obi-Wan Kenobi? Did Darth Vader kill him, or did Ben do it by allowing Darth Vader to kill him?
Right.
It's complete nonsense.
It is. Oh, we could sit here all night talking about complete nonsense in the Bible, but for right now, we're just going to concentrate on Saul. Crystal, do you want to have something else that you want to add in on this?
Well, I mean, I was not really familiar, other than the story that I have always been taught, and that is that he took his own life after the death of his sons, and he knew he was going to be captured and probably killed. That's the only story that I knew. And then just getting into studying this stuff, and I'm like, this is the hottest mess I've ever read, and I think it's a hard time making sense out of any of it. I think there was a lot of embellishment, and perhaps this didn't even happen.
Hey, there we go. Convert number 1. See, that's how you become an atheist. You read the Bible.
I think that sometimes that you need somebody to help you decipher this stuff, and I really would love to hear somebody that was trained in theology to kind of break this down. Because
I have to disagree with you. I have to disagree.
That's not me.
I know. I just have to disagree with you, Crystal. If this is the Bible was written by God, supposedly it's written by God, so the average person would understand it. Why would you need a theology expert to explain it to you?
Because the majority of it was written so long ago, and a lot of it in language that we don't understand that's translated. So I think having somebody that has had training, even if you don't agree with them, I like to hear what somebody else has to say that really has studied this.
Well, then
rather than just read it. You know what I'm saying?
I understand that.
Really has got into it.
I have
don't
one.
Disagree with me.
I do actually have to disagree with you again. Now, that's what I'm saying is if you have to go to somebody that's been studying these theology or whatever the person you were talking about there, if you can't understand it, how the hell are you supposed to get into heaven if you can't understand it? Because if you can't make heads or tails of it, then you're lost. You might as well say, okay, fuck it, and we'll just I'll trash the whole thing because I can't get in heaven if I can't understand it.
But I don't believe that way.
I understand that, but that's just what I'm saying is if God is supposed to write this Bible so people could understand it enough so they can get into heaven, and if God's word is supposedly inherent so it can be well known throughout the ages, then anybody from then, even then, should be or now should be able to understand this stuff from then. I understand the language change and the translations change because from person to person and translation to translation, you lose a lot of stuff. But I mean, if you can't understand it, then your chance of getting into heaven goes down every translation or every time that someone changes the way it reads.
I think that's your opinion, and I'm going to tell you why. I also don't understand law, so I would go to a lawyer to help him interpret this stuff for me and make sense out of it.
I think that's different.
I don't think it is,
because laws do change, but laws change, and lawyers write the laws explicitly to be very explicit. That's why you need a lawyer. I think that's a totally different thing there. I'm just saying. I mean, you have your opinion on that. I respect your opinion on there.
You both had great points on each other, actually.
Yes.
Because I completely see what Crystal just said, but then what you said about lawyers, like, yeah, they're real people. Like, they actually write the law.
Right, exactly. And since they have to write the law, they have to actually study the law, and then that's how new laws get allowed to put out to us little people. And then those big laws filter down to us, like don't run a stop sign, the red lights, things like that.
Crystal's punching you
I
in
know
the chat room.
she's punching in the chat room. Yes, I saw that. And but that's if you can't understand it, then our chances of getting into heaven, or anybody's chance of getting in heaven, not that I believe it exists, it goes down. And I think that's our time. So yeah.
And I had the funniest shit to say about that, but I forgot it listening to you guys making great points.
See, this is why we have Crystal on the show. She makes excellent points.
She does.
She makes excellent points. She is smart, man. She is smart. Yes, you are.
She has a huge cheering section in the chat room.
Yes, she does. She's got more people cheering for her than she does me. And I'm the host, God damn it.
You know what, though? I mean, like, I know we're done with this discussion. It's just a matter, I think if you have your opinion, you're sticking to it, that's absolutely fine.
Mm-hmm.
In the way that I think, the more people that I have kind of opinions coming in, I like to hear opinion. I like to hear what you have to say. I like to hear what Joe's got to say. I love to read what the chat room has to say, even if they disagree with me miserably. I think that's keeping an open mind.
Yes, and
I think you're being very closed-minded by saying.
I think
me? That you're short-sighted, maybe.
I'm short-sighted
because you are a liberal and you are a progressive person.
Yes.
What if they've got a point that you really hadn't thought about? That's happened to me a lot of times. Just talking
a lawyer, or you mean a lawyer or the Bible guy?
What about if it's just like I don't know.
Just
I agree with Crystal 98% of the time. And that's a scientific number. Don't fuck with me. It's real. That's science.
You can't fuck with science.
You do know that 200% of all statistics are made up on the spot, don't you?
And the other 98% are freelanced.
That's right. Well, it was a really good discussion. We really got everybody really going on this. But we're going to have more contradictions throughout the month. So please come back next week, and you'll find out some new stuff. So don't know what we're going to talk about. We know what we're going to talk about this time. We actually got this all planned out. So come next month, or next week rather, and we'll talk about all those extra contradictions.